Greetings, programs. I'm Mr. Phobos, and today we are talking about what our culture does with its best hero. This video stands on its own, but it does dovetail with my previous one, the best Superman story you've never heard of. That video covers Elliot Magen's 1978 novel, The Last Son of Krypton, which I consider the definitive portrayal of Superman across all media. If you haven't seen it yet, I'd invite you to watch that one first and then come back here. If you already have, or if you're happy to take my word for it now, then let's get into it. Why does the diminished hero keep getting made and defended? For many people, there is a real psychological comfort in a Superman who storms out of arguments and cannot articulate why being good matters. If the strongest, most capable being imaginable is just as confused and reactive as the rest of us, then confusion and reactivity stop being character failures and just become the human condition. Nobody has to aspire to anything. Nobody has to feel bad about not trying harder. Magen's Superman is genuinely threatening to that worldview, which is probably why he gets ignored. That version of the character has no trauma arc, no moral ambiguity, no permission structure for bad behavior. He just chooses to be excellent, completely and without reservation, because that's what you do when you have the capacity to do so. That is an uncomfortable mirror to hold up. If there is no objective good, then there is no standard against which anyone falls short. A hero who embodies absolute goodness is an implicit rebuke to that entire worldview. So the solution, whether conscious or not, is to drag the hero down to the level of the culture rather than let the hero ask anything of it. Superman as a barometer is exactly right. What a culture does with its best hero tells you what a culture actually believes about human potential. Right now, the answer seems to be not much. Part 1. What Superman actually is. Superman is not a power fantasy. He never was. Power fantasies are about having what you want and doing what you please with it. Superman is the opposite of that. He is a philosophical proposition about what power should be used for. And the proposition is simple. A being with unlimited capacity, raised by good people in the American heartland, chooses freely to put that capacity in the service of others. Not because he has to, not because someone forces him to, but because serving others is what you do when you have the power to do it. That is the entire premise, and everything else follows from this. Elliot Magen understood this at a level nobody in Hollywood has matched before or since. His 1978 novel, Last Son of Krypton, published the same day as the Donner film and outselling every other tie-in product by a factor nobody expected, doesn't begin with Clark Kent discovering his powers or learning a painful lesson. It begins with Jor-El sending a message to Albert Einstein, not asking him to raise Kal-El, but asking him to find parents who will. Because what Jor-El understands is that power without the right foundation is worse than no power at all. He does not need his son raised by the smartest man on earth. He needs him raised by the kindest people on it. Einstein calculates where the ship will land. He travels to Smallville. He finds the Kents in a farm supply store, and he knows immediately that they are the right people. Then he steps aside. That is the setup. A being of supreme intelligence deliberately chooses ordinary goodness over extraordinary brilliance as the foundation for a god. Magen understood what Superman is before a single power is even demonstrated. He is an argument that character matters more than capacity, and that argument only works if the character is genuinely, unambiguously good, not conflicted or traumatized into virtue, not morally compromised into relatability. Just good, as a free and conscious choice made every single day. Part 2. The Pattern of Diminishment. The diminishment did not arrive all at once. It crept in, step by step, each iteration finding a new way to make him smaller. It starts with Pa Kent. In Richard Donner's 1978 film, Jonathan Kent dies of a heart attack while Clark watches, powerless to save him. Not because anyone made him promise to stand down, but because some things cannot be fixed with super strength, and learning to live with that is part of what makes Clark human. It is a scene about the limits of power, not the shame of it. The lesson is not that Clark should hide. It is that being Superman does not make you God. Zack Snyder looked at that and decided to go further in the wrong direction entirely. In Man of Steel, 2013, Jonathan Kent tells a young Clark that he maybe should have let a bus full of children drown than reveal his powers. Then, to prove that point, he dies in a tornado he could have easily survived, waving Clark off as he is swept away. The lesson is not sacrifice, the lesson is shame. Hide who you are. The world is not ready. This version of Superman is built on a foundation of suppression rather than choice, and a Superman who has been taught to hide himself can never be a Superman who chooses to stand forward. Then comes the infamous neck snap. The climax of Man of Steel has Superman killing General Zod by breaking his neck to save a family from his heat vision. Snyder's defense is that there was no other option. But there was another option. There were many options. Superman had Zod in a headlock. He could have covered his eyes. He could have flown him into space. He could have rotated him away from the family. The script wrote those options out. The film needed Superman to kill and then to cry about it afterwards to make him feel the weight of the responsibility. What it actually established was that this version of the character will cross lines when the plot requires it. That is a very different statement than Superman does not kill. It is that Superman will kill when we decide the story needs him to. Snyder's own quote on the decision is telling. He said that if Superman cannot handle that position, then he is fake. What he means is that a Superman who will not kill under sufficiently extreme circumstances is unrealistic, a fantasy rather than a believable character. But that's precisely the point. Superman is supposed to be the argument that the position can be handled without crossing those lines. That is what makes him aspirational. A Superman who kills when pushed hard enough is just a very powerful person doing what very powerful people do. And then there's Gunn's version, which we have discussed at length elsewhere, but the detail worth adding here is one that Snyder actually started. The film reveals that Clark's pod was not just an escape vessel, it was a vanguard. The blue boy from Kansas was always intended to be the advanced scout for a Kryptonian reconquest of Earth. Gunn inherits this and runs with it, reframing the entire mythology so that Superman's benevolence is an accident of upbringing rather than a design of destiny. Gunn's Kal-El was made to conquer. He chose not to, which sounds like it could be powerful, except the film shows him unable to make the case for his own values in an argument with his girlfriend, unable to hold his own in a 12-minute interview about whether saving lives was a good idea, and unable to project any of the gravity that would make someone want to follow him. It is not a hero who transcended his programming, it's a hero who got lucky with his parents and still cannot figure out what he believes. Many writers have admitted they do not want to write Superman because he's too powerful. They cannot figure out what to challenge him with. Magan's response in Last Son of Krypton is instructive. Write bigger challenges. Match his power with problems that require all of it. In the novel, Superman and Lex Luthor have to team up to recover Einstein's final message, stolen by an alien would-be galactic dictator. The stakes are cosmic. The intelligence required to navigate them is considerable. Nobody spends any time making Superman feel bad about himself. The modern answer to how do you challenge Superman is almost always the same. Make him doubt himself. Give him trauma. Give him a villain who exposes the contradiction in his values. Make Lois ask hard questions he cannot answer. Make his father die in a preventable accident to teach him shame. Make him snap a neck and then weep about it. Magan's answer was, make the problems harder. Do not make the heroes smaller. The reason that answer has been abandoned is not creative. It is ideological. A Superman who is simply, clearly, uncomplicatedly good is a standing challenge to a culture that has decided goodness is complicated, that moral clarity is naivety, and that anyone claiming to stand up for something unambiguous is either lying or has not thought it through hard enough. The diminished hero does not just reflect our cultural moment, he validates it. There is also a simpler, more honest explanation that does not require attributing grand conspiracies to anyone. Writers who struggle to find Superman interesting are usually writers who cannot imagine being that good themselves, and they cannot imagine why anyone would choose to be. That failure of imagination is not a creative problem, it is a moral one. Part 4. What is actually at stake? Stories are how civilizations transmit their values. We have known this since before we had writing. The oldest human narratives are hero stories, and they all follow the same basic structure across every culture and every language, precisely because they are encoding something real about human nature. The hero faces a challenge that requires genuine sacrifice. He grows through struggle. He earns his victory through character, not just capacity. And children, watching or listening, do not process these stories as entertainment. They inhabit them. They become the hero in their imagination, and they carry that formation into the world. What happens when the heroes they are given are confused, traumatized, morally compromised, and ultimately reactive rather than aspirational? The answer is not that children learn nothing, it's that they learn the wrong things. The strength is suspect, that goodness is naive, that the best you can do is muddle through with good intentions and hope the damage is manageable. That's not a hero's journey, that's a permission structure. There is a reason Magan's Superman feels genuinely radical in 2026. Not because the character does anything unusual, he saves people, he outthinks villains, and he chooses honesty over convenience. But because he does all of it without apology, without self-doubt, without a single scene where somebody has to talk him back from the edge of moral relativism. He's just good, completely and without reservation. And in the current cultural landscape, that's the most threatening thing a character can be. The blueprint has been sitting there since 1978. The question is not why nobody followed it. The question is why so many people have worked so hard to bury it. Thank you. That's the end of the video, and now I don't have anything written down, so I don't know what to say. You could really help me out by giving me a subscribe, liking the video, and leaving a comment, and sharing it with your friends. I would definitely appreciate it. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Until next time, be seeing ya.